Today's video, I want to give you guys kind of an update, especially for my subscribers that follow me. I've gotten to know you either through subscribers, comments, and so forth. I feel like we built a little bit of a community here, and thanks for everybody for hanging in with me. But I kind of wanted to share some things personally that's been going on videos, because I got some pretty cool stuff, and I'll give you an update on what I got planned for this car here. There's a few things that are wrong with the car and a few things that are working really well with it, so I wanted to share that with you, and some things that I'll be changing on the car, believe it or not. All right, guys, take a little ride. I'm gonna give you some updates. Ooh, man, feels good to be in it today. Nice hot day in summer, Tampa, Florida. Get out in the neighborhood. Got the T-tops off. Everything's nice, boy. Take a nice trip. Oh man. And every time I get in this thing, I just like, man, this thing feels like a new car. The air suspension just rides incredible. Alright guys, well, wanted to kind of share some news with you, especially all you subscribers that have been with me for a long time, and even you new subscribers who are just kind of interested in what's going on with me. You probably noticed I haven't done a lot of videos lately, and there's just some personal reasons for that. And a buddy of mine said, hey Stan, why don't you, I think people would appreciate, kind of where you're coming from these days, and kind of bring them in the loop a little bit. I have a tendency of just kind of disappearing, which is not too cool for all of you guys that have watched my channel and have been there for me, and just everything else. So I appreciate everybody's support, and I really do. So I figured I'd just go ahead and kind of share that and just kind of get right to it, guys. About, I don't know, a few months ago, my wife was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and she went through a full Whipple surgery, and they found it by accident and early, which we're hoping is going to be really good for her long-term diagnosis. So she went through a Whipple surgery, and they basically went in, I'll let you Google it, but it's a pretty severe surgery. And then they followed that up with chemo. So she's been doing chemo now for, I guess, about 2 months now. So, that's really been taking a toll on her. She's lost all her hair, just experiencing pain and nauseated all the time, and it's been really, really tough on her. So, I've been trying to really focus, spending time with the family, getting all those things sort of taken care of. But I do realize that, there's times that I have to kind of get away from things and enjoy the things that help me stay motivated and sometimes clear my mind, so then I can be there with my wife. So I think recently I've been thinking, I really got to get back into the car, get back into the Blazer, and start doing some things, and kind of, doing some videos, because I got some pretty cool stuff, and I'll give you an update on what I got planned for this car here. There's a few things that are wrong with the car and a few things that are working really well with it, so I wanted to share that with you, and some things that I'll be changing on the car, believe it or not. But for the most part, it's nothing major, so we're not pulling motors or anything like that. But I did want to kind of give you an update on some things that we have to get done here pretty soon, in my opinion. So we'll do a walk around here in a little bit, and I'll give you sort of an update with that. Man, this thing's fun. But so anyway, just kind of getting back to my wife, just, you know, send your positive vibes, your prayers, all that good stuff. I really appreciate it. But I am going to be doing some content here on the channel and focusing back on the car, just to kind of give me some time and to kind of recharge and do the things that I love to help me kind of get through the week, and kind of not, you know, it's easy when you're going through one of those things to kind of go into a dark spot or a dark place, and it's very easy to do. So, you know, one thing, just being in it right now, it's pretty awesome. It just really gets my mind off things. It makes me feel awesome just driving it, for the amount of work. It makes me appreciate all the freaking blood, sweat, and tears and massive amounts of money that have gone into this. So now I'm going to talk about some things that we're going to be changing up on the car here. So we'll go ahead and get to that part. All right, guys, the first thing we're going to be taking a look at, doing something different, is the air suspension. So a couple issues that I'm having now, we're not getting rid of it because I freaking love it. And I feel like what little bit of pain I've had with it so far has been super worth it. But, so there's a couple things here that we need to take a look at. The first is on, and let's see, let me get out of here. The first is on the passenger side front. I've got a small leak. So it's, you know, one of those things where maybe it takes a couple weeks before I have to kind of air it back up. So we're gonna have, and I kind of did some diagnosis. It's not around the valves or anywhere else in the system. It's really kind of around right where the airbag is. And I know they're famous for leaking, like if you don't cut the end exactly straight. So I think it's just, I don't think it's the bag itself. I think it's where it connects into it. So I got to fix that. And then it's also doing the same thing on the opposite side in the rear. So this one as well. So we're gonna have to take a look at that. This one's gonna be a lot simpler here to kind of get to. All right, so along the lines of the air, I'm also going to be taking out these manual air valves. I thought I liked it. I thought I was going to be keeping it simple, but honestly, number one, I don't like the way it looks. It doesn't look stock in the car. It looks like you got a couple gauges hanging out of it, and that's the first thing you see. So that's the first thing I don't like. The other thing is, it ended up being just kind of behind it, just too complicated. You can see, just too complicated with all the valves and everything else. And also to kind of get the pressure right is a little weird, because you're reading the analog gauges here. So I think we're going to be converting these to a digital kind of air valve switch here that'll be hidden in the back, and clean all that up. I'm probably going to put some ride height sensors on it as well, so we can basically have a few presets and it'll be super magical. Okay, but other than that, I freaking love this air system. It just rides amazing. Okay guys, so that's the first thing. All right, number two, now in an air system, and you guys that have F-bodies know this about the Panhard bar, but it's especially sensitive when you have when you're raising it up and raising it down, because the system will essentially go to the right, because the rear will actually move to the right side as you lower it and move to the left, so to speak, when you raise it, right? Now luckily, if you remember when I put the rear in, it's a half an inch lower on, it's a half an inch shorter on each side, and so I got it tucked up in there pretty well. As you can see here, it's got a nice tuck, and I narrowed it just because of the air system. I wanted to really tuck that tire on it. I don't really like tires that hang out the lips like you see on guys that try to run the biggest tire they can, and it's all hanging outside of the fender well. I think this is super nice. 295 here as you kind of get into it. But the issue it creates is it can rub on one side or the other depending on, and now that's if you go extreme high or extreme low. So I might get the UMI Watts link, and that'll prevent it and kind of keep it center. So that might be one of the things that we end up doing here, is getting that. Take it down here. So yeah, so we'll probably end up getting rid of the Panhard bar setup and going with that. Number 3, you guys know I've been doing the interior. I got the 5th gen seats with the 3rd gen upholstery, and I gotta still do a few things on the interior. The dash is cracked. It's been like that since I got it, so we'll go ahead and replace that. But I think one of the next things that I'm also going to do is, let me get in the car. We're gonna, I don't know if you notice in the videos, but my speedometer, so the speedometer is a cable driven on a 85, and it requires a cable to a VSS signal sort of converter. That thing's pretty pricey, and I'm just kind of looking at it, and now that Dakota Digital, I think it is, through Hawks, has one that looks almost identical to this gauge cluster, which was really big to me. I'm not a big fan of aftermarket looking gauges, but I just like to basically look pretty stock. But those are super nice. They're all modern on the inside, but they work they work much better, and they look like they belong there. So that's going to be, I think, one of the next big things. I'm also going to work on, Dakota Digital has a VSS basically for your drive-by-wire pedal, if I can get that down there, where I can get cruise control back with this LS swapped. So I figured out a way to make the stock switch, and I need a new switch because that thing's all wore out. So we'll get a new switch, and we'll figure out the whole cruise control on this as well, and that's going to make this thing super nice for that. So that's going to be another cool project that's coming up, guys. Alright guys, the next thing, and if you watched my last dyno video, you know we never got the E85 tuned on this. So we put a pulley, all new pulley system on there. We gained some boost, and we ran out of pump on the 525 Hellcat single pump. So let me show you a little bit what we got here. We're gonna have basically a Hobbs switch right there. Now this pump right here is pretty cool. Okay, I had to look at the damn box. This is a TI Automotive, and it's variable, right? So it's going to run much cooler, and it's a variable. I think it's a variable 450 or something like that. But the test that they do in this pump is going to do way more than I need. So this is going to be a secondary pump that I'm going to put in there. So I'm going to have 2 pumps, which will be really nice. And the way it's going to work is it has this. So this is the TI Automotive. Now this is your PWM basically controller, and what it does is it has an input when your Hobbs switch sees boost. It'll basically switch. Is going to solve all my problems. And then I also went up to some bigger injectors as well. Right now, I think I've got 850s. So I went ahead and upgraded those. Speaking of fuel system and air ride, for some reason I still have this Gremlin. You guys probably saw the video where I was trying to chase down some things here. But one of the problems is when I lowered this thing all the way, for some reason my fuel pump doesn't work. And then I got to raise it up and I climb underneath here and I jiggle some wires and then all of a sudden it works. So I think it's a ground issue, but I thought I was smart by keeping the 4th gen connections and all that. And I think it's just one of those things where I just have too much stuff going on here. So we're going to simplify that when we do this fuel system and hopefully get rid of that little Gremlin. I was at a car show a few weeks ago, dropped it all the way, went to start it, and of course I look like a really cool guy not starting this car all lowered up. So anyway, yeah, so we'll go ahead and figure that out as well. One of the final things I have on the exterior, honestly, is a couple things in the back here. This will prevent me from doing too many taillight Tuesdays, I guess you could say. But one is I want to restore, basically refinish this, make this all super nice, stock looking. I'm not a big fan of dark taillights. I hate that stuff, actually. And then the other thing, as you can see here, we've got, and you know, honestly, I don't worry about these things so much, but you've got this, it's kind of sliding back here. Whenever it's a GM flaw, I don't sweat it too bad because you're going to end up fighting it. So probably going to just go ahead, bite the bullet, get some nice hinges for the hatch here. All right, let me take you one more thing here while I'm at it. So I'm basically going to redo this this plastic. It's too many sections here and I don't run math anymore. So I think I'm going to go ahead and have a aluminum one or one made up that's going to be custom. And then I'm also going to build a custom air box here. It's a lot of heat, and that just gets sucked right up into this. And you guys know it'll start pulling timing, especially LS. It'll start pulling timing like crazy on you. So I'm going to figure out a way to make a nice little air box for it, and we'll see how that goes. So yeah, that's pretty much it there. All right, so that's today's video. Thanks for hanging with me, guys, and if you want, hit that subscribe, hit that bell, and we'll see you on the next video. Peace.